Ever feel like fear keeps blocking the life you want? Like every time you're about to take a big step, something inside you freezes. Today, I'm going to show you how to flip fear into fuel, so instead of running from it, you use it to push you toward the life you're meant to live. Most people hear the word fear and instantly think it's something bad. They think fear means danger, failure, embarrassment, pain. But the truth is, fear is rarely the villain you think it is. Fear is a signal. It's your mind's way of saying, pay attention, something important is about to happen. It's like an alarm bell ringing in your head, not to push you away, but to make you aware that what you're facing has weight. You don't get fear when you're about to do something meaningless. You get fear when the stakes are real, when there's something to gain or lose, when the outcome actually matters to you. That's why fear is almost always hiding the exact thing you need to grow. Think about the times you felt fear in your life. Maybe it was before stepping on a stage, before telling someone how you truly feel, before quitting a job, before moving to a new city, before trying something you'd never done before. In every single one of those moments, fear showed up because your brain was scanning the horizon and saying, "This is big." It's not trying to kill your dream. It's trying to get you ready for it. The problem is, we've been trained to misinterpret the feeling. We think the shaking hands, the fast heartbeat, the sweaty palms mean, don't do this. But those reactions are just your body's way of preparing you. Your adrenaline is rising, your senses are sharper, your focus is narrowing in, all because your system knows you're about to step into a moment that could change you. When you see fear as a stop sign, you freeze. You tell yourself, I'm not ready. I'm not good enough. This isn't for me. And the opportunity walks right past you. But when you see fear as a signal, everything changes. That same feeling that once made you hesitate now makes you lean forward. You realize the only reason you're afraid is because the thing in front of you actually matters. And if it matters, it's worth doing. Fear doesn't show up when you're sitting comfortably on your couch scrolling through your phone. Fear doesn't show up when you're playing it safe. It only comes knocking when you're standing at the edge of something meaningful. Here's the wild part. Some of the best moments in your life will come wrapped in fear. That job interview that could launch your career. That conversation that could heal a relationship. That leap into a new chapter that could redefine who you are. All of them will feel uncomfortable before they feel rewarding. If you wait for the fear to disappear before you act, you'll be waiting for the rest of your life. Fear isn't designed to leave before you start. It's designed to walk with you until you're strong enough to lead without it. Imagine an athlete before a big game, a performer before stepping into the spotlight, an entrepreneur before making their first pitch. All of them feel fear. The difference is they've learned that fear is just proof that they're alive, proof that they're doing something worth doing. They don't see it as a wall, they see it as a green light. That pounding heart is a reminder that they're about to write a new chapter. When you start treating fear like a signal instead of a stop sign, you stop letting it dictate your choices. You stop letting it hold your dreams hostage. Instead, you start asking yourself, what is this fear trying to point me toward? What's the opportunity here? What could happen if I step through instead of stepping back? That's where your power lies. Not in avoiding fear, but in interpreting it differently. Because once you understand that fear is simply your system telling you that the moment matters, you stop trying to run away from it and start learning how to use it. Fear has a way of growing in your mind. The longer you sit and think about it, you replay the worst case scenarios over and over. You imagine every possible way things could go wrong. The more you think, the heavier it feels, and soon the fear becomes bigger than the actual situation. That's the trap most people fall into. They wait for fear to go away before taking action, not realizing that fear feeds on hesitation. It thrives in stillness. The longer you wait, the more it grows. The truth is, fear doesn't disappear before you start. It disappears as you move. The very moment you take a step toward what you're afraid of, you weaken fear's grip on you. It's like standing in a dark room, afraid of what might be in there. You can stand still for hours, imagining monsters in every corner, or you can switch on a light. The light is your action. Once it's on, the shadows start to shrink. The danger you built up in your head often turns out to be far smaller, far less powerful than you imagined. Action creates momentum, and momentum changes how your mind experiences fear. When you're standing still, you're in your head. You're stuck in the loop of, what if I fail? What if it doesn't work? What if I embarrass myself? But the second you move, your focus shifts from your thoughts to the task in front of you. You go from thinking about doing it to actually doing it. And in that shift, fear has less room to breathe. It starts to feel smaller because your mind is now engaged in problem solving instead of fear feeding. Think about the times you finally faced something you'd been dreading. Maybe it was a hard conversation you'd been avoiding. For days, maybe weeks, you told yourself it was going to be awful. You imagined tension, awkwardness, maybe even anger. But when you finally sat down and had that talk, it wasn't nearly as bad as you'd built it up to be. Or maybe it was your first time speaking in front of a group. For days beforehand, you rehearsed your mistakes in your mind. You felt your stomach tighten just thinking about it. But once you started speaking, the fear began to fade, replaced by a strange sense of focus and even excitement. That's the power of action. It pulls you out of fear's imagined future and into the reality of the present. Even small actions have this effect. You don't have to jump straight into the scariest part. Just take one step, send the message, sign up for the class, make the call, walk into the room. The moment you act, you prove to yourself that you can. You show your brain evidence that the fear is not as big as it seemed. And every time you act, you weaken fear's authority over you. There's another thing about action. It gives you control. When you sit and think, fear controls you. It dictates how you feel. It shapes your thoughts. It convinces you to stay small. But when you move, you take that control back. You become the one deciding the pace, deciding the direction. Even if you make mistakes along the way, you're still in motion. And fear hates motion. Fear wants you frozen because a frozen person can't grow. Momentum is like a muscle. The more you practice acting in the face of fear, the easier it becomes to take that first step. Next time, you start to trust yourself more because you've seen what happens when you move forward. You've experienced how quickly fear shrinks once you stop feeding it and start doing something about it. Over time, the things that used to terrify you start to feel normal, even comfortable, because you've trained yourself to respond with movement instead of hesitation. Fear doesn't just show up to make life harder for you. It often arrives carrying something valuable, a lesson, a skill, an opportunity, a piece of growth that you wouldn't have found otherwise. The challenge is, it wraps that gift in discomfort, uncertainty, and doubt. Most people turn away before unwrapping it. They see the fear, feel the tension in their chest, and assume it's a sign to back off. But in reality, that fear is protecting something you need to become the person you're meant to be. Every major breakthrough in life is guarded by fear. It's like a gatekeeper. You don't just stumble into your next level, you earn it by stepping through the discomfort. On the other side, you find something you didn't have before: more courage, more confidence, more resilience, more clarity. That's the hidden gift. Fear is the test that proves you're ready to hold it. If there was no fear, the gift wouldn't be worth much. Without the struggle, you wouldn't value the reward. Think about some of the moments in your past that scared you the most. Maybe it was taking on a role you didn't feel ready for. Maybe it was moving to a new place where you knew no one. Maybe it was ending something safe to go after something uncertain. At the time, it felt like you were standing on the edge of a cliff, heart pounding, wondering if you could handle what was coming. But when you made the leap, you didn't just survive. You came out stronger. You picked up skills you didn't have before. You discovered strengths you didn't know you had. That was the gift. The gift isn't always obvious right away. Sometimes you have to walk through the fear before you even realize what it was trying to hand you. A fear of public speaking might be hiding the gift of influence and communication. A fear of starting a business might be hiding the gift of freedom and self-reliance. A fear of commitment might be hiding the gift of deep love and connection. The very thing you're scared of is often the thing that will expand your life in ways you can't predict. The reason fear hides the gift is simple: growth requires effort. If the gift was sitting in plain sight, you'd take it without earning it. But fear forces you to dig, to fight for it, to prove to yourself that you can handle what comes with it. It's almost like the universe saying, "This is valuable. Let's see if you're ready." And by going through the fear, you prepare yourself for what's on the other side. When you start looking at fear through this lens, it changes how you approach it. You stop asking, "How can I avoid this?" and start asking, "What could this fear be hiding from me? What might I gain if I move toward it?" You realize that the things you're afraid of are often pointing you directly toward the areas where you're meant to grow. If you follow that trail, you collect gift after gift, more wisdom, more strength, more opportunities than you could get from living in comfort. It's almost like fear has a compass inside it. The stronger the fear, the more important the gift it's protecting. That doesn't mean every fear is worth chasing blindly. It means that when you feel that deep, unsettling pull toward something, it's worth pausing and asking yourself if there's something valuable on the other side. Because more often than not, the thing that scares you most is the very thing that will give you the breakthrough you've been searching for. Fear gains its power from the story you tell yourself about it. When you see something as a threat, your mind automatically moves into self-protection mode. You start imagining all the things that could go wrong: the embarrassment, the loss, the pain, the failure. Your focus narrows to danger, and when all you see is danger, action feels impossible. But the truth is, most of the situations we label as threats are not life or death moments. They're opportunities disguised as danger because of how we choose to interpret them. If you can change the way you frame the situation in your mind, you change the way you feel about it. Instead of asking, "What if I fail?" you can choose to ask, "What will I miss if I don't try?" That one shift turns the entire experience around. Fear's grip weakens when you focus on the cost of inaction instead of the risk of action. Suddenly, the potential pain of failing becomes smaller than the guaranteed pain of never knowing what could have been. This is how reframing works. You take the same event, the same uncertainty, and you view it through a different lens, one that empowers you instead of paralyzing you. Think about a time when you avoided something because you labeled it as too risky. Maybe you didn't speak up in a meeting. Maybe you didn't take that trip. Maybe you didn't pursue that relationship. At the time, you felt like you were protecting yourself from harm. But later, when you looked back, the harm came not from the thing you avoided. It came from the regret of missing out. That's the cost we rarely calculate when fear calls the shots. Reframing the threat is not about lying to yourself or pretending fear doesn't exist. It's about telling the full story, not just the scary half. Yes, there's a chance things won't work out the way you want. Yes, there's a possibility of discomfort, failure, or rejection. But there's also the possibility of success, growth, connection, and opportunity. By only focusing on the danger, you blind yourself to everything that could go right. The fear is still there, but now it's balanced by hope, curiosity, and purpose. Your brain is wired to detect threats faster than rewards because survival is built into your DNA. Thousands of years ago, avoiding danger was the priority, and that wiring still exists today. The problem is, most of the threats you face now aren't tigers in the jungle. They're presentations, conversations, auditions, interviews, or decisions. They feel dangerous because your brain treats emotional discomfort like physical danger. But when you reframe it, you remind yourself that you're not fighting for survival. You're stepping into possibility. One of the most powerful reframes you can make is to treat fear as an invitation rather than a warning. An invitation to grow, to test yourself, to see what you're capable of. When you get that rush of adrenaline before a big moment, instead of saying, "I'm scared," you can say, "I'm ready." That small change in language tells your mind to see the energy as preparation instead of panic. You're no longer bracing for impact, you're gearing up for a challenge. The moment you reframe a threat into an opportunity, your body responds differently. Your posture changes, your breathing steadies, your mind opens up. You start to picture what success might look like, what you might feel if it goes well, who you might become in the process. And the more you do this, the more natural it becomes. Eventually, fear stops feeling like a wall and starts feeling like a doorway. The same situations that used to shut you down begin to pull you forward, not because they got easier, but because you learned how to see them through a different lens. Every major upgrade in life comes wrapped in fear. It's almost like a built-in checkpoint before you step into something bigger. Fear isn't there to keep you away from the next level. It's there to prepare you for it. The stronger the fear, the more it's a sign that you're on the edge of growth. That tension you feel in your chest, that racing heart, that voice asking, "What if I can't do it?" It's the sound of you standing at the doorway to a version of yourself you haven't met yet. Think about how growth actually happens. You don't get stronger by lifting weights you can already handle. You grow by picking up something just a little heavier than what you're used to. That strain, that discomfort, is what breaks you down so you can build back up stronger. Fear works the same way. It stretches you. It forces you to dig deeper. It demands more courage, more patience, more resilience than you've had to use before. And in the process of facing it, you become someone who can handle more than you could yesterday. Every time you conquer a fear, your capacity expands. What once felt impossible becomes normal. The first time you spoke in public, your voice shook and your palms sweated. But the second time, it felt a little easier. By the 10th time, it wasn't fear that showed up. It was excitement. The fear didn't disappear overnight, it just got smaller because you got bigger. That's what it means for fear to build your next level. It forces you to grow into the person who can carry that level with confidence. The next level of your life. Whether that's in your career, your relationships, your health, or your personal dreams, will demand a stronger version of you. And fear is the training ground. It doesn't show up to punish you, it shows up to sharpen you. Without fear, there's no reason to grow. Without fear, there's no challenge that forces you to stretch past your limits. Comfort doesn't build the next level. It keeps you where you are. Fear is the signal that you've stepped outside that comfort zone into a place where transformation can happen. If you look back on the moments in life where you truly leveled up, you'll notice they were often preceded by a period of uncertainty or doubt. Maybe it was when you decided to take a risk on yourself, move to a new place, start a business, or end something that wasn't serving you. In the moment, it felt terrifying. But when you came out on the other side, you realized that the person who made it through was not the same person who started. You had more belief in yourself, more clarity about what you wanted, and more trust in your ability to handle whatever came next. Fear has a way of showing you where your next level is hiding. It points like a compass toward the exact area you need to grow in. If you're afraid of putting your work out into the world, that's a sign your next level involves visibility and impact. If you're afraid of asking for help, your next level probably requires connection and collaboration. If you're afraid of making a big decision, your next level is about trust and leadership. Each fear is like a marker on the map showing you the way forward. The catch is, you can't skip it. You can't level up without walking through the fear first. You might try to go around it, but you'll end up right back where you started. Fear is part of the path. It's not an obstacle outside of the journey. It is the journey. And the more you lean into it, the more you realize that every breakthrough, Every accomplishment, every defining moment in your life has had fear standing at its door, waiting to see if you're ready to step inside. Fear isn't the enemy, it's the guide. It shows up not to block your path, but to mark it. Every time you feel it, you're standing in front of a door that leads somewhere important. When you learn to see fear as a signal, you stop running from it and start moving toward it. When you act in the face of fear, it shrinks. When you dig deeper, you discover the hidden gifts it's been guarding. When you reframe it, you turn threats into opportunities. And when you push through it, you don't just reach the next level, you become the kind of person who can live there. Fear isn't a wall, it's a doorway, and the key to opening it is in your hands.